actually, 11 Alive, Doug Richards interviewed me a couple weeks ago, leading up to the state is now doing kind of a countersuit of sorts against us for upwards of $700,000 to $800,000 for the legal fees that they have paid to their private lawyers, the most expensive lawyers in the southeastern United States, to bully and intimidate us for the lawsuits that we have lodged against the project.
So let's take a step back. Who's us? And tell me about the project, because just so that you guys can understand, I was here at the tire shop, and Alan's car caught my eye. Welcome back to Loving Kindness Every Day. Y'all hear the MARTA? Yeah, it's okay. We're outside. We're outside. We're at the tire shop. We're talking to Alan about Rivians. All right? His sticker on the back of his car did catch my eye, and we'll talk about that. Whoa. It's loud out here today, you guys. So maybe it's something we have to pay attention to. Thank you guys for showing up. Yesterday, my heart was hurting, and anybody who has a hurting heart, anybody who's just having a hard time in life, I want to take this 2 seconds and tell you to go back one episode and listen to that. I have posted what I like to call a thought redirection tool.
Constructive Thought Redirection.
Where basically it's just choosing a better thought. I do my practices in English and in Spanish, and so I have shared it with you in English and in Spanish. And I have shared with you strength and health. So skip back one episode and listen to that. It's set to some music, so you can walk to it, you can dance to it, you can chant to it, or you can speak some words over yourself. Think some thoughts that are better. Just choose to think better thoughts. It really does help. Without further ado, let's get to it. So, I actually just picked that electric car up today.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, wow.
Just to borrow it and to try it out.
Yeah.
And to see did I like electric cars, because this is my first time driving and actually living with an electric car, because I thought about buying a Rivian. Because I planned to buy a Rivian. So your sticker really caught my attention.
Well, great.
So I guess educate me. Change my mind?
Yeah.
Should I change my mind?
Well,
why should I change my mind?
Well, I'm not going to try to change your mind. I'll share a bit of our story, of the community story of Rutledge, Georgia, and Morgan County, and then you can make up your own mind, and maybe do a little bit of research. We've been on the front page of the New York Times and of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and I was on the front page of the Morgan County Citizen last week. 4 years ago, the Joint Development Authority, there are over 200 development authorities that are chartered by the state. So this is the one that is for Morgan County, Walton County, Newton County, Putnam County. And so it's a Quad County Development Authority. And they helped lure and attract Rivian, as Rivian was looking for a new territory to create their next big factory. They've got one factory right now in Normal, Illinois, and I laud them for that because it's an old Mitsubishi plant. And so, consistent with the environmentally responsible company that Rivian poses themselves to be, they reduce, reuse, recycle an old Mitsubishi plant. There goes a Rivian right there.
Literally.
So I applaud that, and I applaud Rivian for recycling the plastic, if I understand correctly, that is used in their vehicles. And there's another one.
I saw 3 as I was driving home to get my recorder.
Okay.
Really, I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, they are using plastic that is harvested from the ocean.
Oh.
And we need to do that, right?
For sure,
we need to reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yeah.
And we also need to reduce, reuse, recycle oil. We need to reduce our dependency on oil from wherever it comes, whether it be from the Gulf and Deepwater Horizon explosion to the Niger Delta, one of the richest estuaries in the world in West Africa, where Shell, Chevron, Texaco, just like they operate in Ecuador, are destroying rich ecosystems of which all of God's creation depend, and our brothers and sisters of Nigeria, Ecuador, you name it. And I've been studying climate change and been transformed by the climate science all the way back in the 1990s. So I'm 51 years old, and my name is Alan Jenkins. Again, I'm an ordained Presbyterian minister, ordained to a ministry of creation care, environmental responsibility. So I preach and teach on these issues. And it became clear to me all the way back in the late 90s. As a matter of fact, I helped organize the very first protest in Atlanta on addressing the climate crisis, and that was all the way back in 2005. And so one of Rivian's aims is to help get us off fossil fuels. I believe that's important. Now, so they needed a place they wanted to expand. They have visions of expanding. Right now, their stock has been really tanking for the last 2 years. When they first came out on Wall Street with their IPO on Wall Street, they shot to, at least on paper, a worth of more than Ford, more than GM within a month. And they had the investors of George Soros and Jeff Bezos, and a commitment with Amazon to build over 200,000 commuter vans, what do you call those?
Little prime van things.
Yeah,
the
prime
Rivian
vans, right? So, and you've seen those
cargo
around
vans.
town.
Yeah. I've seen those.
So, so any event, so they needed a new place, and so the Joint Development Authority of this Quad County area, Morgan County, Walton County, Newton County, Putnam County, they were waving a big flag behind closed doors, because no community members knew about this plan to build a car manufacturing plant on top of an old farm. It's zoned for agriculture. It's zoned for agriculture, residential AR, and it's the largest, and it happens to be the largest groundwater recharge zone or shallow aquifer in the Quad County area. And so it's the headwaters of Honeycutt Creek, Rawlings Branch Creek, which goes through our property, and then Dennis Creek. And so those lead into the Little River and ultimately into the Altamaha River. So this is an environmental company. We were assured, the community was assured that they were going to be environmentally responsible. And then they started grading the land. And that's when we started raising issues and looking into the matters deeper. At a 20,000 foot level, Rivian is great.
Right.
At a 20,000 foot level, Rivian is fantastic. It looks good. But then, and with 7,500 jobs to be created here in the state of Georgia in the quote unquote, green, clean energy sector. And so, so 7,500 jobs. I say as a little side note that had we expanded Medicaid under the Obamacare affordable health care plan, we would have added up to 60,000 jobs in the state of Georgia, saved lives, and helped keep small hospitals across rural Georgia open. But instead, we're offered a $1.5 billion tax break, one of the largest tax breaks in corporate history in the state of Georgia, for the largest economic development project in the state of Georgia, prior to Hyundai down in South Georgia and Bryan County. So they chose this spot. It really wasn't Rivian so much, but it was the governor, the Economic Development Authority, and the Joint Development Authority that chose this spot without checking in with any community members who would be most impacted. So we lodged a suit.
Is it going to be the same size as Hyundai down there?
Hyundai is a $7 billion project, and is supposed to have, I think, 8,500 to 9,000 workers at full production.
Larger, okay.
And Rivian is to be 7,500. It's located right next to Camp Twin Lakes, which is a special kids camp with kids with disabilities and illnesses and wheelchairs and that kind of like. And it's downwind from the factory. And so if there is a battery fire, and there's been a battery fire at pretty much every plant, electric vehicle plant. Of course, there's been battery fires at the Rivian plant in Normal, Illinois, their first place where the Mitsubishi plant was that they overtook. So, so you're taking over prime farmland at a time when farmland is becoming more and more precious. The state of Georgia is top 5 in the destruction and quote-unquote development of farmland in the country. We're top 5 for paving over. And as a theologian, as a Presbyterian minister, there's a great theologian who said once that when we pave over a part of God's creation, we pave over a part of our soul. And
it's a bit silly. We're kind of ruining a small pocket of an ecosystem to save the world. In theory, is that
right? But and so it's pronounced as a green company. But look, if we are really and additionally in the Biden administration, I voted for Biden. But and there are a lot of things that I disagree with Biden, certainly around Palestine, and this unquestioned support for Netanyahu. But under his Department of Energy, right before he rolled out of office, the Department of Energy offered a loan of $6.6 billion to Rivian. As Rivian was tanking, Rivian still hasn't made a profit. Rivian is losing over $40,000 per vehicle that they make. And so our federal government is investing $6.6 billion in a failing company. They might turn around. And if you read independent investors on Wall Street, when they're purely looking at the numbers and the possibility of making a profit, not concerned with any environmental or local, political issue, they're simply looking at the hard facts. They're still 50-50. Sometimes the motley fool investor analysis will say they're a buy, and the next week they'll say we don't think they're a buy. So we as a nation are investing $6.6 billion. Now imagine, and it's a loan. Elon Musk got a loan for about $800 million 10, 12 years ago for Tesla. And he just last year was able to pay that off. That's one of the wealthiest companies in the world, and it took them 10 years to pay off $800 million. What's it gonna take for Rivian to pay back $6.6 billion? Are they gonna be able to do it?
No.
No friggin' way. I'm a Presbyterian minister, so I have to watch my language. But here's the other thing. We're at a liminal time in human history. We're at a liminal time in human history where I've been to the tops of the last glaciers of Kilimanjaro and high in the Andes, and I've seen how people's lives are being affected, and how, let's say, the people of Lima, Peru, it's one of the world's mega cities, over 10 million people, and they are dependent upon 3 rivers that all converge right there at that point of the coast of the Pacific coast of Peru. And those rivers originate from high up in the Andes with all these little streams with the glaciers that melt and refreeze at a sustainable rate. But all that's disappearing. Just really within a blink of an eye, these glaciers are disappearing. It's also the place where Rivian gets their lithium. And so we're using indigenous land of the Quechua in the Andes Mountains and destroying their water supplies. And so isn't it interesting that here, Rivian is going to be destroying our water supplies too. And what is their permit for? How much water withdrawal is their permit for per day? That the Environmental Protection Division of Georgia has given them 2.7 million gallons of water a day.
No way.
Now, what they use that water for, I don't know. They say they're going to recycle a lot, but they're also posing 25 new data centers in that region as well. And we know that data centers are a huge water consumption as well. And so as temperatures rise, we know that one of the most important things is to reduce fossil fuels and to protect land. If we don't protect land in the watershed, we'll have no water. But look, $6.6 billion in federal grant to a failing company, $1.5 billion in tax breaks, not to mention free infrastructure by the Georgia Department of Transportation. Now look, if we were really about being environmental, what would we do with that 1.5 billion and 6 billion? We would make buses. We would make trains, right? I mean, even if everybody in this city were given a Rivian, we'd have cleaner air, praise the Lord, but we'd all be sitting in one
Traffic.
parking lots.
Yeah.
Parking lots called Memorial Drive, called Boulevard, called the Downtown Connector. We can't continue in this way. We know it. We know that we are at a liminal point in human history, and we can't continue consumption at this rate. We've destroyed the planet, right? So yeah, we're all wrapped up in it. You know, we need cars, right? We need cars, but it's all a short-term thing. Ultimately, we've got to free ourselves from the cars that rule our lives, and that pave over God's creation. As I said, when we pave over a part of God's creation, we pave over our souls, a part of our soul. And we know that at the end of the day, we can't eat money, right? Clean air, fresh water, and nourishment from the soil, you know. So
Kids. I have to ask you, because you shared with me that you're a minister.
right.
What do you think about the state of Christianity in our country today?
Oh gosh. Well, you know, that's such a broad question because you know, we say, what is the state of Islam in the world? Well, you know, I'm as a hospice and a pediatric hospice chaplain, I quote from the Islamic scriptures and from the great Sufi mystic Rumi, amongst others. So, you know, there's just so much diversity within Islam, within Christianity, within Buddhism, right? And so what is the state of Christianity in the U.S. today? Well, it runs the gamut, and I'm proud to be a member of Oakhurst Presbyterian Church, which is a voice for peace and justice and addressing the original sin of the U.S. of racism. And so that's kind of our one primary mission of addressing racism in a context of faith and as a witness to our community, witness with our community. But I do know that there are a lot of churches that are not thinking with their minds. You know, they're praising God with their hearts, but they're not using their minds, and not challenging the growing divides in this country, the causes of poverty, the causes of homelessness in this country, the gross concentration of power in this country, I got to include myself in it too, because we're all in this together. We're not challenging the strength and power of the military-industrial complex. Right? And then we begin to associate the USA with God's blessing. You know, God bless America. But we remember the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who said, excuse me, it was Reverend Jeremiah Wright, the former pastor of Barack Obama, Trinity United Church of Christ, Chicago, and he said, God bless America. No, the question is, can America be a blessing to God? Right, the psalmist talks about, my soul blesses the Lord, praise the Lord, bless the Lord. It's not about demanding that God bless us. No, we are to be a blessing to God and to one another. And to blindly support Benjamin Netanyahu and the right-wing government of Israel, supported by our weapons, without thinking about the least of these, without thinking about the call of the gospel to be peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be the children of God. And so a lot of churches today are confusing weapons with peacemaking, and it blows the mind.
Google Alan D. Jenkins and the word Rivian together. See what you find, and see, does it influence you or change your mind. If you feel passionately or strongly about this, or you have an opposition to what Alan had to say, contact me, let me know. We'll talk about it. But for now, I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to ask a question. I'm not sure, but should we be saying no to Rivian for real? Because, I mean, that's a Ford Mustang GT. I drove one of those for a long time. It took so much gas, I sold it. I was just like heartbroken, spending $500-600 a month on gas for my Mustang. I'm gonna leave you guys with that. I'm gonna ask you guys to share the show, share what you feel about the show, like, subscribe, comment. Reach out to me. Let me know what you think for real. We'll talk soon. You guys take care. I love you.